Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast. And we've got a special guest with us. He's class of 2020's NRL retirees. He played 200 and I want to say 56 games for the Wests Tigers. His name is Chris Lawrence. Thanks for joining us today. This episode is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Gold Coast Trading Cards. They are an authorized TLA trading card dealer, and they are the NRL collector's choice. From box breaks to individual cards, they sell thousands of them from the 1960s up until recent 2020s and into the future 2021s coming out next year. Be sure to get all of your NRL trading card needs at Gold Coast Trading Cards.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No worries. What an amazing career you had, and congratulations on such a big career from 2006. That's virtually unheard of these days. So well done. What was it like getting your debut in 06?
Yeah, look, it was pretty unexpected, to be honest. I was still in high school, obviously, and it was only really I started training with the first grade side just in the school holidays, actually. Tim Sheens was really good at bringing in a lot of younger kids to give them a week or two of training, just to see what it was like training with first grade guys.
Because some guys may have been, sorry to interrupt, some guys may have been like, it's not for me. I can't keep up, even though they had that dream. Sorry.
Oh yeah, not really. It's more just the experience of what it's like to be an elite athlete at sort of the level you need to be at. As a sort of 17, 18-year-old, guys coming through that they've identified through that sort of under 18 system, just to give them a bit of a mark of sort of where they need to get to, I suppose. And I was lucky enough to sort of do that. And then sort of Tim would he'd select a couple of guys to go and travel with the team. Again, more for the experience about what it's like to go and prepare for a game, going and the flight to either Brisbane or Canberra or one of the away trips. And I was fortunate enough, me and another guy were selected to do that, to go and travel with the team. And it was only a couple of days before the game. I think Paul Federer went down injured with a hamstring, I think. And then, basically Sheensy walked over to me and said, "Look, looks like you're in, kids." So, and that was it. So 2 days later, I had to basically sign a contract. I wasn't 18, so I had to call my dad. He had to come home from work, had to rush to get an NRL contract signed, because basically, didn't have an NRL contract at that stage. Next day, flew out to Brisbane. The next day, played. So it was
wow.
a bit of a whirlwind.
Oh, that's for sure. And you got a try on debut. And to anyone who's listening that may not know, you are and probably will hold the record for being the youngest Wests Tigers debutant. You are 17 years and 283 days, which I think is a pretty cool achievement to have. What was it like, running out onto the field, especially Suncorp of all places, for your first game and managing to nab a try in the game?
Well, look, it was pretty surreal. I remember running out in the warm-up, and it was at the stadium. It was only half full then, so there was, I think the whole crowd was at 40,000, so it was only about 15, 20,000 there when I ran on the field. But just the atmosphere and the electricity was just amazing. Obviously, nothing that I had experienced, playing school footy or anything like that. So it was, I wasn't really that nervous until then I ran back out on the field, and you could hear sort of the crowd roar or boo, more like it, when you sort of run out on the field. So and standing there sort of waiting for kickoff and realising it was actually happening. So like a lot of players say in their debut game, it just went so quick. Sort of you don't feel like you get tired. You got that much adrenaline pumping through your body. I was lucky enough to get into some space early on. And Sheensy said to me before the game, when I was obviously a bit nervous, just said, "Look, you're going to get an opportunity in the game. I picked you for a reason. So if you get the opportunity in the game, just back yourself." So I sort of had that running through my mind when I got an open space and was fortunate enough to get around Berrigan and score a try.
Yeah, which is very hard to do, especially given his try-saving tackle later that year in the prelim finals. So that's an amazing accomplishment on behalf of yourself. You then, as I mentioned earlier, went on to play 15 years in total for the Tigers, being a one-club man, which is very rare these days. What was, I'm sure you probably had offers when you were coming off contract throughout the time with the Tigers where other teams would have maybe tabled an offer. What was the deciding factor, to stay a one-club man with Wests?
I think, a lot of the people around the club, a lot of the players, I've made some really good sort of friends, lifelong friends for people at the club. And Like I really appreciated, particularly, the Tim Sheen's, the opportunity he gave me and the faith he showed in me when I was young. So I felt, I love the club, and I felt like in some respects, particularly early on, I had to repay the faith that the club showed me early on. And again, there were so many players who I wanted to keep playing with. We had a really good core bunch of guys, along the way, and that you spend pretty much all your time with these guys day in, day out in the trenches, doing all the hard pre-seasons. And, I just wanted to build something special with these guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I was at your last game at Bankwest. It was an amazing game. It unfortunately also turned out to be a horror game for Benji because, as everyone knows, he got a few injuries in that game. And me and my friend definitely believe that if Benji had played on, you guys would have got the win because it was such a good game. So it was amazing to see your last game live. How is retirement treating you, and how are you transitioning into retirement since then?
Yeah, look, obviously the last game was disappointing not to get the win. I thought from a team perspective, we played some really good footy, and it was probably just a bit of to be honest, a reflection of our season where we just had 10 or 15 minute patches in a game where we might leak a couple of tries, and that's the difference. I thought for the majority of the game we probably had the upper hand, but again, probably just a reflection of the season. But yeah, look, straight into obviously into retirement, and for me the transition probably started quite a number of years ago. I've been probably one of the more proactive ones in really having a focus away from footy. I feel like it wasn't necessarily to create a plan B or something to have as a fallback. It was because I really believe having that focus away from sport has improved my performance, and I really think it's helped me be consistent and have a longer career, being able to overcome some of the setbacks and challenges and things I've faced, and being able to just provide a bit of a distraction and take your mind away from football. So for me, being able to do a lot of different educational courses and being able to start a business, Wellbeing, meant that I've, the byproduct of that meant I can roll straight into my company and help try to inspire and make an impact, not only in the corporate side of things, but with the next generation of athletes. So I've rolled straight into that. We'll probably take a bit of time break over January. Be the first sort of summer I haven't been sweating it out day in, day out on the training field for a while. So I'll probably again work straight into the business now, working hard, but take a bit of a break over summer.
No, that's for sure. And while we're talking about One Wellbeing, what is One Wellbeing, and what is the main goal of One Wellbeing?
Yeah, so One Wellbeing, it inspires, empowers, and educates not only employees and business leaders, but also athletes to help shift their mindset, find their best, and overcome challenges and adversity. So we work within a corporate space trying to implement the principles of elite sport to again help people shift their mindset and overcome adversity through workshops, keynote presentations, coaching, and mentoring. And within the athlete side of things, it's about building confidence and learning. It's about trying to help improve your performance, improve your brand, and improve the commercial aspects by, again, engaging in off-field initiatives, finding a passion away from sport. And I'm really a big believer in that. And it's not all about education. It's about finding that passion away from sport. How can you facilitate that? What can you do to try and make sure that day in, day out, you can step away from football? It's not, you're not consumed by football all the time, because it's a high pressure environment. And if you don't have anything outside of that, you don't have any sort of any other focus area. So for me, being able to do that and share my knowledge and experience, the things that have helped me in both areas, and hopefully have an impact on a number of people's lives, is pretty important.
No, that's fair. And I've got to ask, how did you get the nickname Rowdy?
I was obviously probably an ironic nickname at the start, being a 17-year-old kid, coming out of high school. And I was a big believer that you had to earn the respect of the older guys. So to be honest, I barely said a word in the first, it's probably year. And it was only probably midway through, my second sort of season, and just started being myself. I think it was when I felt like I'd earned my place in the side, because I was sort of thrown in there the first year. I'd only really completed one or two training sessions with the team, so I'd barely trained with the team, so didn't really felt like I'd earned it enough and earned the respect enough. So I suppose once I felt like I did that, just started being myself and talking, and obviously going from a kid who didn't didn't say a word to then just being myself, which is, I'm definitely not an extrovert, but I'm myself. I don't mind a chat and don't mind being who I am. So yeah, I think it's Benny Galea gave me that after I sort of started chatting a bit. He just turned around and said, "Mate, you pipe down, Rowdy. But you've been a bit too rowdy." It came from Benny Galea. He can claim that one.
That's fair. So yeah, basically it went from being quiet to all of them are noticing you talking, and that's honestly awesome. And speaking of Rowdy, you've started up a podcast. I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Retirement with Rowdy or Retire with Rowdy, going and talking about your retirement. What is that about? Obviously, I mean, I just maybe more or less mentioned it. And where can people find that to listen to?
Yeah, so Retire with Rowdy, it's sort of a bit of a spin-off. We've been, me and my business partner, running a podcast, the Be Ready Project. So again, working with athletes, speaking with athletes who have transitioned away from sport, just telling their story, good and bad, and things that have helped them, things and advice they could give. And again, just trying to provide those opportunities and those things for the current athletes to hopefully have things that are going to resonate with them. And for me, obviously now it's my turn to go through that transition and retiring. So it's more just a diary, literally a podcast diary, going through the different stages for me, from a week before finishing up my last game to the week after, and then subsequent weeks, what I'm doing with the business, the things I'm going through, any challenges I'm facing initially, and what I'm trying to do to overcome those things. So yeah, everyone can find that. It's on the Be Ready Project. So on, I think, Apple, iTunes, and
all that sort of
Spotify.
stuff.
I don't load it up there, so my business. So I've got one wrong, but yeah, the Be Ready Project podcast is where you can find it.
No worries. I'll also find the links to that and put it in the description of this episode. So if anyone can't be bothered searching, just scroll and you'll be able to click on the link. Next question and topic would be the COVID bubble of 2020 for NRL. What was it like for you having to deal with that? And in general, how did the team cope during the, you could say, lockdown and then also the comeback since COVID for the NRL?
Yeah, look, I think the initial break, when we broke up, the first probably couple of weeks was pretty hard because we didn't really, a lot of the chatter was about that was the season done. It was looking pretty grim. And then within the space of a week, it turned around and there was a start date. So once there was a start date, there was a bit of certainty, even though, we weren't allowed to come in and train with the club. We had to, basically keep ourselves fully fit, do the same training load, but train by ourselves. But the motivation's there because you knew there was a start date, and you knew that if you didn't come back in the same shape, you knew you were going to be behind the 8 ball, and you didn't want to let your teammates down, be that one in the middle of a game who is underdone because they didn't do that work. So look, that was all right. And then obviously coming back into the full team environment and being in the bubble. And again, initially there wasn't really a lot of drama with it because there were so many other people in lockdown, and the fact that we could still come back and play and work and to get paid, because at the end of the day, if we're not playing, we're not getting paid. So a lot of people doing it so much worse. Unemployment rates going up to 7 million. People skyrocketing. So we still had employment. We still could do something we love and still, even though we've obviously taken a significant pay cut, but still get paid. So that was obviously fine. But for then the challenges go as you go through the rest of the season. Having 18 games straight was a challenge.
That definitely would not have been fun. No bye or nothing.
Yeah, and I think that was sort of tough week in, week out, having to, do the training in preparation for that. I know the guys that were not playing, that was difficult, not being able to just play in reserve grade and do and actually get a game and still basically train
and try and keep the match fitness up, sort of thing. Sorry.
Yeah, that was sort of hard. That was pretty hard because, again, not knowing whether they were going to get their opportunity, but knowing that they had to be ready just in case. So look, that was mentally very challenging. But I think towards the back end of the year, when the pressure cooker of the season, and you got not only the niggling injuries, but you got the normal scrutiny from the media, social media, pressure on performance. It does get tough, and because there's no outlet, you can't leave your house. You go to training and come home and basically leave your house just to get groceries. It was look, it was difficult, and I know a lot of different players did struggle. For me, I found, I found it tough, but I was very fortunate that, I had other passions. I had my work, my business I could still do, virtually, had my wife, had my little daughter. So, I could come home and still switch off from footy. But guys who, might have been, young single guys, and a lot of young guys living together basically had to come home and live, in a unit, couldn't do anything else, and didn't get to basically, live their life. So yeah, and still were all under the same scrutiny that everyone else was. So yeah, look, it was difficult, but again, everyone was in the same boat. You had teams like obviously the Warriors relocating and the Storm as well. So it was, everyone just had to do what they could do to get the season out.
Which is an amazing effort on not just the Warriors and the Storm, but just in general, everyone's sacrificed in the NRL, from the volunteers all the way up to the core part of the team and the players. It's an amazing effort. So thank you on behalf of the podcast to you, the Tigers, and the Tigers volunteers, staff, all that, for making sure the game could still go on. And during COVID, what was your Netflix binge during that 10-week no NRL games sort of break?
Mate, I was nothing. I was probably the most busy I've been, given the fact that I thought there's a good chance we're not coming back and playing. And because of that, I thought, well, potentially my career could be over. So I need to make sure my business is up and running. So I was working sort of 12, 14-hour days in my business, trying to, again, like all small businesses, we took a hit with COVID. So trying to minimize that and really be flexible and adapt to the changing environment and find, opportunities in it. So for me, I use it as an opportunity to try and excel my business through it, when a lot of businesses were going backwards. So unfortunately, didn't have the luxury of sitting down and chilling and just watching Netflix.
No, that's fair. I was very similar. I saw it as a chance to, because I usually interview former players because they're a lot easier to get in contact with. But with that break, it enabled me to get in contact with current 2020 NRL players. And so I really took that opportunity, as you did with your One Wellbeing, to really get it off the ground, which is an amazing, amazing accomplishment that it's ready to go for you and transition into retirement. Well, not work retirement, but footy retirement. We've got a few questions from a few of my mates who are devout Tigers fans. The first one is from Christian, and he asks...
Hey, Chris, first off, congratulations on a fantastic career and a long one with the West Tigers. I'm a huge fan. I was just wondering what your favourite edge combination was to play in when you were playing for the Tigers, and the hardest edge that you had to oppose.
Favourite edge combination would have been... it's probably a toss-up. Well, it's pretty close. So to be around that sort of 09 or 10, me playing centres, having Benji in the halves, Gareth Ellis back row, and then 09 obviously having the big tank Tanyella, and then in 2010 having Lottie. So I probably couldn't split either one of them, but it was a pleasure to play alongside an edge with full of internationals who just made you look good. So that was definitely I would say the edge that I really enjoyed playing alongside, and we really formed some good combinations. And the edge that I didn't like defending against, I think the edge that used to always challenge you, but not that I actually enjoyed it because you knew you had to be on your game. I think early on was the Dragons. For me, coming up against Mark Gasnier in the centres.
That wouldn't have been easy.
Yeah, you had to be on your game because if you weren't, you're going to let your team down. But I saw it as an opportunity. I mean, that's why you play rugby league, to come up against the best and test yourself. So I really tried to enjoy that challenge as much as I could. Probably as a whole edge, and it's probably the time that 9, 10, sort of 11 period, the Manly right edge. When us the Tigers left edge was probably performing really well. The Manly right edge, Cherry Evans, Glenn Stewart, Jamie Lyon, they always test you. That you had to, it doesn't matter if it was a long shift or a short side. They were just footy players. So if you were lazy for mark or you were short in some senses, they were always going to come. So you couldn't really have a tackle off. So they always tested you.
No, that's fair. And thank you very much for your question, Christian. The next question comes from, again, he's a devout Tigers fan. He was my mate that I went to your last game with, Corey, and he asks this.
Rowdy, how are you? It's Cosmo, mate. Big fan of you. Love your work, legend for the Tigers. But my question is, mate, what is life for Chris Lawrence after the West Tigers looking like, mate? What are you up to next? What's the next chapter?
Yeah, so next chapter, again, we sort of touch on it, just, rolling straight into the business, which is good. And also I'm being fortunate enough to still sort of hang around the Tigers, and I'll be doing a bit of work as a careers coach, and again, as a mentor for helping those guys with life sort of after footy, and trying to help them find that passion. So while I'll only be, in a small capacity, given the fact I probably can't, the bandwidth of the amount of time I can sort of allocate, given how busy I am with the business, but I still really wanted to try to help out this young group of Tigers players. They're a great bunch of guys, and I see a lot of myself and a lot of young guys coming through with really good work ethic and just that willingness to learn. So any sort of wisdom I can impart on them, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, thank you very much, Corey, for your question. So rounding this off with a few more, like 2 or 3 more questions, what is your personal NRL career highlight?
Career highlight. Obviously, you've probably got a few. I mean, you can't go past your debut. Every player, dreams to play one game, so you always remember your first game. I probably, in terms of the games for the Tigers, there's been some games where, again, some memorable games. It's hard to sort of pick out one. A lot of memorable wins where just things clicked for us, and yeah, it was just really enjoyable, and just enjoying those moments. Again, with guys who best your mates for life. And then probably one that stands out was being able to play for Australia and playing the Four Nations winning final in 2011 alongside sort of Darren Lockyer in his last game. So that was pretty special to be able to be part of that, and again be part of such a great player's last game.
No, honestly, that's fair enough. I was going to say I was thinking in my mind it would either be your debut or it would be a game for the green and gold, and it was both, which is amazing. Do you have any advice for any kids or youngsters, that want to play footy in the big leagues one day?
I think first and foremost, just to enjoy it, have fun. It's you want to be able to enjoy it. If it becomes, I know there's a lot of like scouts and coaches and trainers. And it is, serious business from such a young age now, but it's about having fun. You have to enjoy what you do. First and foremost, enjoying, but also your willingness to learn. Doesn't matter what age you are. You've got to be willing to learn each and every day. How can I sort of improve, get better? What can I do to, again, make myself a better footy person, a better player? And third thing is hard work. If you're willing to put the hard work in, when you get to that, the 17, 18, 19 years of age, everyone's ability becomes very similar, and you're only separated by who's willing to do that hard work. So, I'd say definitely make sure you enjoy it, or always willingness to learn and grow, and working hard.
No, that's fair. And 2 last questions. Number 1 is, if you could have an actor play you for a movie based on your life, who would it be and why?
Actor. Yeah, I don't know. Any suggestions? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a sporting type one as well. I
don't know. Maybe Matt Damon. Matt Damon, because he was he did the rugby. What was the rugby movie?
In Invincibles, something like that.
Yeah.
It was the one with the Springboks, wasn't it?
Yeah. So maybe just because I just pictured him running out in a Springboks jersey. So maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And brain fighting hard. There was a question that I had. That's right. And so I'm just going to do a quick click because I want to edit that bit out. And the last question, what was it like sharing a milestone game such as your 250th alongside one of the other greatest West Tigers players, Benji Marshall, who also was playing his 250th Tigers game the same day, so like in the same game, and also holding the record, sharing the record with him as the top try scorers for the West Tigers to date?
Yeah, look, it's. I think the try scoring record will probably get beaten.
Probably at some point.
I don't think we'll hold that for very long. But yeah, look, it was pretty special to share it, that 250th game alongside Benji, because again, he'd been such a big part of my career, playing alongside him, particularly on the left edge, particularly in the centres, and such a good mate. For quite many years, he'd been making me look good, setting up for plenty of tries. But so it was just an honour to be able to share that sort of moment with him. So yeah, definitely some memories and that I'll take away. Probably not the most memorable game. I think we got beaten by Newcastle quite convincingly, but look, it was still one of those days where you sort of are very grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, like it was. I'm sure, like from your side of things, it was, even though the result of the game didn't go the way as planned, the whole day in general, and the 250th outweighs the result, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one game doesn't define your whole career, and obviously
God, no.
you always want to have that, enjoy that moment, and have that good sort of feeling. But yeah, look, I just look back at it and just very grateful for, again, the opportunity to be able to even get to that 250 game milestone.
Awesome. And honestly, that about wraps it up. So I'm going to thank you very much for joining me, and I'll get this episode up probably either tomorrow or the day after. And obviously I'll tag you on LinkedIn and all that stuff when it's all up and running. Also, one last bit, because I'll edit that bit out. You've got a competition for people to win your match-worn jerseys. Where is it, and how can people enter?
Yeah, so just go on all my social channels. Chris Lawrence on LinkedIn, and Chris Lawrence 04 on Twitter, Instagram, and then Chris Lawrence on Facebook. So yeah, look, to be honest, it was just more the fact that a lot of the guys back to training, and then sort of remind me there's probably about time, and it's probably on my long list of things to do around the house to try and tidy up everything. So yeah, just plenty of years of gear that sort of has built up, and thought, what a great way to try and give back to us, give it out to some lucky Tigers fans, and again, hopefully in the same process, be able to help share, what I'm doing with my business and help serve and make an impact. So if I can do two things at once, and it's be really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone who listened to that, be sure to head over to those links. I'll put them in the description below. Thank you very much for joining me again, and I'll definitely be sure to get you on next year for a 2021 Tigers, season preview.
Sounds good, mate. Cheers.